5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Solihull Radio Studios, this is the Josh Samuels Show, your Saturday afternoon obsession.
Candles burning, ruby red, sheets are falling off the bed. Run your fingers through my hair. I know what you're thinking. Take me there. You hypnotize me with your touch, and I can never get enough of you. It's true. And anywhere you wanna go, my hand is only yours to hold. Oh, you know I'm so obsessed with the way that your lips kiss me like crazy. Ooh, you amaze me when you walk in the room. You got me losing it. Yeah, I'm a mess. Girl, I confess, I'm so obsessed. Oh, yeah. Every time you walk away, I guess your perfume likes to stay on my pillow, on my shirt. Listen, baby, for what it's worth, I'm so obsessed with the way that your lips kiss me like crazy. Ooh, you amaze me when you walk in the room. You got me losing it. Yeah, I'm a mess. Girl, I confess, I'm so obsessed. Yeah, yes. So give it to me, give it to me, give it to me now. And I'm so obsessed with the way that your lips kiss me like crazy. Ooh, you amaze me when you walk in the room. You got me losing it, baby. Yeah, I'm a mess. Girl, I confess, I'm so obsessed. Oh, baby. Oh, yeah. When your friends are around and you kiss me in front of everybody, you know it drives me crazy, girl. So come and lay one on my lips, girl. Just do it to me. Yeah, oh, yeah. You know it. I'm so obsessed. You're never getting rid of me, baby. Never getting rid of me, baby. Yeah, yeah. You.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a truly beautiful day outside, about 30 degrees by my calculation. And I'm sure that, we must be hitting record highs today. But if, like us, you are just inside and aren't watching the football, and like us in the studio, then we've got you covered for the next 2 hours at least. If you've seen any of the promo posts on social media in the last couple of hours, then you'll also know that I've got a very, 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 very special guest sitting opposite me this afternoon. On University Radio, he is my on-air husband. He's also the voice of the Josh Samuels Show, if you've ever listened to the intro as we did a moment ago. He is the Ronald to my Maggie. He is the Maradona to my obscene gestures. He is, after all, the FC to my politics. It's the cool kid from Crieff. It's Matty G. finally we've got you in the studio, Matty. What's it like to be in here with us?
It's amazing. I've been looking forward to this moment for ages. It's good to be reunited once again on air.
I know, it feels like nothing's changed apart from maybe the studio itself.
Yeah.
But it is great to have you alongside me once again. And as always, there are an almost endless amount of ways you can get in touch with me and Matty this afternoon. You can call us in the studio on 0121 777 8410, or you can send us a text on 075 64 30 30 64. Or, if that doesn't quite float your boat, you can send us an email at studio@studyholeradio.com. And of course, you can send me a tweet at Samuels Radio, or by using the hashtag The Josh Samuels Show, or simply The JS Show. And, as is now becoming something of a tradition on The Josh Samuels Show, we are kicking off this afternoon's action with another England song from a competition that actually, Matty, being Scottish, you might not necessarily know about this competition. It's a well-known international competition between significant footballing nations called the FIFA World Cup. It's really, really popular. I just suggest giving it a watch, really, honestly. Anyway, since the show began almost a month ago, we've been going forwards in time with our World Cup songs, taking us right up to the present day last week with that Scouting for Girls song. Which means there's only one place to go now, and that is, of course, backwards. And we're going back a few decades, way before the lifetimes of both Matty and me. Some might say it's a better time, even. Go back to 1970, to be specific. Here's a song by the then reigning world champions. It is Back Home by the 1970 England World Cup squad. We'll see you in a few. Songs like that anymore, do they? Wonderful tune there by the 1970 England World Cup squad with Back Home. And something else that will hopefully be coming back home is, of course, the FIFA World Cup. That is not what we want to be playing there. Sorry for that. So yeah, I think naturally we have to start with, of course, England thrashing Panama last Sunday 6-1. But even though it was 6-1, is it a false indicator, Matty, of the England squad, what the England squad can actually achieve? Because, yeah, okay, it was a good performance by England, Harry Kane scored a hat-trick and so on. But Panama aren't exactly world beaters, are they? I mean, I don't think they really... I don't think they even got a point today out of their 3 games.
Well, I don't
think
actually know what happened between them
and
and
I
Tunisia.
know they lost to Belgium. I'm sure that they went 1-0 up against Tunisia and ended up losing 2-1.
Oh.
And so, again, if you're... Even though you're thrashing that team, if you're still beating them, does it say more about the opposition than it does you if you're beating a team by that much? Does it really show England as a good side, or does it show that they're just better than a really poor Panama side?
I think it shows they're just better than a really poor Panama side. Because when I actually look at the 6 goals, 2 of them were penalties and 1 of them was a lucky deflection. So, I mean, the actual number of goals that came from either set pieces or just open play wasn't as big as the margin of victory suggested. And I think England, especially in their performance, Tunisia showed that they aren't the best at taking chances, and I think that also showed against Belgium when both teams basically played their backup 11, and then England could barely create a chance with that. So I think they might go further than the last couple of World Cups. Certainly, they might win a knockout match, but I don't think they're going to win overall.
Is that because they just haven't got the right squad? Is it because, as we'll talk about in a moment's time, when it comes to the big decisions, such as which team you feel that Southgate might not quite be getting those decisions quite right, or do you think that it might just be because there are other teams that are just simply better?
I don't think Southgate could field a better starting 11. Maybe 1 or 2 tweaks, but it's as best as he's pretty much going to get out of this England squad. I think it's more to do with the team just aren't playing the best they could be as a team. And I think that some of the other teams just have partly have better players. Like they've got a good squad overall, but it's not like they don't have an individual world class player who can change games, except maybe Harry Kane.
I need to interrupt you just for a second. Just getting news in that France in the game against Argentina in the round of 16 match have a penalty.
Oh,
Marcus Rojo, the saviour of Argentina's last game in the group stages, has given away the penalty. It is 1-0 to France in the round of 16. At the moment, there's a long way to go, so at the moment France are going through. What do you make of that, Matty?
I'm not surprised. I mean, both teams, in my opinion, have underperformed at this World Cup, Argentina more so. Because even though France hasn't scored that many goals, at least they've been solid in keeping possession and actually maintaining clean sheets and not letting many goals in, whereas Argentina have just been all over the place. They really don't deserve to be through to the last 16, in my opinion. So, I mean, I think, France are probably the deserved winners, but I don't think they'll run away with it. I think it'll be 1 or 2-0 at
Interesting.
most.
We will talk about France and Argentina a bit later on, but interesting. We'll keep you updated, obviously, with the squad if you're not watching the game. Antoine Griezmann there putting France 1-0 up after 30 minutes from a penalty. So back to chatting about England. We've spoken about England against Panama. We've spoken about whether England are just better than Panama as opposed to being a generally good side. But let me take the Belgian game, where there were evidently 2 weakened sides, no matter what Gareth Southgate claims. Do you think that Gareth Southgate was right to make that many changes, 8 to be specific, against a Belgian side who was also a weakened side? Because you have all these different factors. For example, the potential of momentum being lost in our round of 16 game against Colombia, the fact that we could have played Japan, who certainly in my opinion are a worse team than Colombia and a better opposition as far as England are concerned. But then the flip side of that is, of course, quote unquote deliberately losing the game or dropping points to ensure that we would finish second. Could mean that we have an easier path to the semi-final or the final, should we be lucky and good enough to get there. So what did you make of the decision to drop so many of the top players?
I think it's a good decision because you're already through to the last 16, so I think it's a good decision to rest your best players, the players that will actually win the games for you. And I mean, if Belgium did the same, then I guess it makes it more of a fair contest. But at the end of the day, sure, Belgium have an easier last 16 opponents in Japan rather than Colombia. But if we assume England beat Colombia and go through quarterfinals and Belgium beat Japan, then England's quarterfinal opponents are much nicer than what Japan have to face, in my opinion.
But then going back to looking at teams like Argentina, who again we are going to talk about shortly, they're not really that good, are they? I mean, if France have just about got through their group. I think sometimes, certainly in France's case, the results didn't necessarily reflect the pattern of the play, and I accept that sometimes you do need luck in order to get the results in these big games. But even so, in a competition like the World Cup, so it is obviously a game that is about form. And if you're in good form against a team that's not in good form, no matter how good they are on paper, could it not be that when it comes down to it, let's just say England play France in the final. I personally think France is the better side. As I said in previous weeks, I think France are good enough and can win it. I think they probably will win it. If not England I would back France quite easily. But with France playing not that well at this World Cup and taking form into it, let's ignore the fact that England's second team was poor against Belgium. Do you think that with England's strong team, with the form that they're in, that they could beat any team, or do you think that even after all that, there's still teams that they could never beat in a million years?
I reckon they could beat most teams at this World Cup. France, I reckon they beat Argentina. I reckon 50-50 on beating Brazil, because they've been very mixed this World Cup. I reckon they struggled against Croatia, because Croatia, even though they're not like one of the top teams, they are a good team and they are in good form. But I think they could, like, there's always a chance they'll beat any and every team. But I think at the stage we're at and at the stage the other squads are at, they're in a lot of the squad needs time to develop and gain experience. So I think some of the squads are just ahead in that rather than like skill and actual talent of the players. Because I mean, Spain's squad has been good for quite a long time now, and so is Germany's. Whereas I think this England squad, there's a lot of good young talent in it, but it needs to be developed. So I think if they have a good run at this World Cup, then I think they have a good chance of winning the next one.
And just lastly about England, what do you make of Gareth Southgate's character? Because coming into this World Cup, he made some very, very good decisions in terms of the team that he picked, in terms of which players he dropped, which players that he decided to bring in. A lot of surprises, but positive changes, positive surprises. And even in the World Cup, the starting 11s that he's put out, both against Tunisia and against Panama, despite weak opposition, were very good, and they were indicative of positivity, and there wasn't much defensive play. We're very much, if you know, scoring a fourth goal, we want a fifth, we want a sixth. That was really encouraging. But then it kind of gets drawn away a bit when you look at the way that he didn't want to he clearly didn't want to win the last game against Belgium, because if he did, would you not agree, Matty, that he would have brought on Harry Kane, who is the England captain and the current leading goal scorer in the World Cup? Would that not have been indicative of a manager that wants to win a game that he's losing?
Yeah, I think if he did actually want to win that game at half-time when it was 0-0, he would have brought on Harry Kane, and I think that could have made a difference. But I think it's the same kind of guy. He probably would have wanted to instill an attitude in the players of wanting to win, but I think he himself wouldn't have minded too much if they hadn't won, because at the end of the day, they're still going through to the last 16. And the opponents, while the Colombia are certainly better than Japan, Colombia aren't a side like Brazil or France or Spain even. They're not like a side that you definitely don't want to play against.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, they're a good team, but they're England definitely have a more than 50% chance of winning that game if they play well.
I think that rounds off our chat about England. I just had a message in actually from one of my other fellow presenters, John Harris, who is, I believe, on Friday from 10 till 12, so please give him a listen. He has messaged me saying that if he wants to go even further back in time for a World Cup song, he can give us World Cup Willie from 1966. I think we would all welcome that on the Josh Samuels show, so if you can get that sorted for us, John, we'd be much appreciated, and he can get you on one day, hopefully. Definitely a fellow United fan, so good for us, Matty, of course. So thanks for that, John. Anyway, moving on very swiftly, we're going to be talking more about the World Cup in a slightly different vein after we've played some adverts from our sponsors.
Condensation every morning and hate that yucky mould patch in the bathroom? It's time to contact EnviroVent. They've helped tackle mould and condensation dampness in over 1 million homes, just like yours. To find out more and to book a free home survey, visit envirovent.com, because air matters.
Solihullradio.com.
Stagecoach Solihull teaches skills
in drama, singing and dance.
But these skills don't just vanish when the curtain falls.
They're skills for life, stretching imaginations and improving literacy.
For a career in the arts, learning new skills, or just having fun.
So visit our website
www.stagecoach.co.uk/Solihull.
Stagecoach Solihull. Skills for the arts.
Skills for life.
Yeah!
The Fireplace and Stove Centre, 1204 Stratford Road, Hall Green. Specialists in wood-burning stoves, gas and electric fires, with over 50 live displays in the showroom. Come in and experience your new fireplace solutions. Call 0121 777 85 85 for more details.
You're listening to Solihull Radio.
Indian Dream on Dove House Parade, Solihull's premier family-run restaurant offering authentic Indian and Bangladeshi cuisine with fresh ingredients and creative chefs. They can provide bespoke dining experiences, eat in or take away. 0121 704 9058.
Solihull Radio.
You say you'll be down in 5. The smell of your perfume is floating down the stairs. You're fixing up your hair like you do. I know that I'll be a mess the second that I see you. You won't be surprised, it happens every time, it's nothing new. It's always on a night like tonight. I thank God you can read my mind, 'cause when you look at me with those eyes, I'm speechless, staring at you standing there in that dress. What it's doing to me ain't a secret, 'cause watching you is all that I can do. And I'm speechless, you already know that you're my weakness. After all this time I'm just as nervous every time you walk into the room. I'm speechless. It started when you said hello, just did something to me. And I've been in a daze ever since the day that we met. You took the breath out of my lungs, can't even fight it, and all of the words out of my mouth without even trying. And I'm speechless, staring at you standing there in that dress. What it's doing to me ain't a secret, 'cause watching you is all that I can do. And I'm speechless, you already know that you're my weakness. After all this time I'm just as nervous every time you walk into the room. I'm speechless. Yeah, baby. It's always on a night like tonight. I thank God you can read my mind. I'm speechless, you're standing there in that dress. Girl, it ain't a secret, 'cause watching you is all that I can do. I'm speechless, you already know that you're my weakness. After all this time I'm just as nervous every time you walk into the room. I'm speechless.
Speechless there by Dan and Shay. What a song that is. It's one of my favourite songs at the moment by far. If you haven't listened to that album, you really, really have to. They are a phenomenal band, they really are. But we're going to come on to that in just a second. I wanted to mention, I forgot to mention at the top of the show, which was that I was just looking at the Solihull Radio website yesterday, and I think I checked it again this morning, so to make sure that it's factually correct. And the Josh Samuels show has been the most downloaded show on Solihull Radio of the week. So thank you all very much for your support. It's, you know, I've only been on the station for not even a month, so to get that kind of support from you is really fantastic. So thank you very much. And a quick shout out to two of my biggest fans who I know are listening this afternoon, I hope, and my aunts Cheryl and Linda in London. I really hope you're listening. There should be a t-shirt coming your way very soon. Thank you very much for listening, all of you, not just my aunts, not just my family, not just my friends, all of you. Thank you very much. we are going to now move on to some more World Cup chat for you. Enough of self-indulgence, I think, for the time being. Or might come back a bit later on. But yeah, we're going to talk about the World Cup again with Matty. And the song Speeches, I picked that because it is the English translation of what was the headline of, I think, Bild in German, the German newspaper. Because Germany, if you don't know, the reigning world champions, went out in the group stages as the bottom team of their group in quite spectacular circumstances, conceding 2 goals in the final 6 minutes of stoppage time against South Korea, a team that they were far, far better than on paper. Matty, what did you make of the game, the goals aside in some respect, and even Germany as a whole throughout the World Cup?
Well, I don't really blame them much for the second goal, because when they went 1-0 down at the start of extra time, they needed a win or they were out. So, I mean, when Neuer came upfield and started playing like a midfield player, I completely backed that decision, because when they were 1-0 down at that moment, they had nothing to lose. I mean, sure, that second goal was slightly humiliating, but even if Neuer had stayed in and they hadn't conceded a second goal, they wouldn't have scored, and they would have still gone out just with a 1-0 loss instead of a 2-0 loss. So, I think at the end of the day, though, Germany have a good team, but the thing they lack is a world-class striker. They have hardly any good, a proper full-on striker.
Yeah.
They have good attacking midfielders. You got Müller, you got Goetze, who scored the winning goal at the last World Cup, and even Draxler, who plays for PSG, I suppose. But they don't have they don't have someone who's similar to Luis Suarez, which is surprising considering the amount of talent they have on and off the bench, on and off the pitch.
I think it's quite a good point you raised, actually, because when you look at the squads that have the best chances, really, realistically speaking, of winning the World Cup, let's say France, who've got Griezmann, Uruguay, who have Suarez, even Spain, who've got Diego Costa, even England, who have Harry Kane, Belgium have Romelu Lukaku. Each of these teams, even Brazil with Neymar, Coutinho, even with each team has one player that you're thinking, yeah, that's the goal scorer of the team. But with Germany, as you were saying, there's not really one player, certainly I can't think of one that is going to guarantee you goals. And as we saw, that has really cost Germany in the end, because we can sit back and say, oh yeah, they've got players that can score. Of course they have. But when it comes to the players that can score in those big matches when it matters, even if the team isn't playing well, they can get the goal. Germany haven't got it, have they really? They really haven't.
No, they're really lacking in that respect. I mean, even Portugal against Spain. Spain are a much better team everywhere else, but Portugal, with probably the best striker in the world at the moment, managed to pull off a very considerable draw in that game.
Do you think that Germany have what it takes in the next 4 years to pull themselves back from essentially the jaws of defeat? Or do you think they might take the Italian route and won't even qualify for the 2022 World Cup?
I think they will probably be back at the next World Cup. I think they will make some changes, but nothing too major. I mean, there are 1 or 2 squad members I drop, Ozil for one. But then again, most of the squad is relatively good. I mean, Müller is good, Kroos is good, the keeper and the whole defence is decent, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think if they can find a good German striker, or at least someone who's at least going to come up and become more experienced and gain just more ability at scoring, then I think they have a good chance next World Cup. But at the moment,
absolutely,
I'd say they're not doing anything wrong. They just don't have enough to do it perfectly right.
So one of my friends, Chris, I hope he's listening this afternoon. Hello, Chris, if you are listening. He said that Joachim Löw's decision to drop Leroy Sané from the German side might have cost them their place in the round of 16. I think that is total nonsense. I don't know about you. I don't think that Leroy Sané is that good a player that he could single-handedly have impacted the German squad to an extent that they would have therefore qualified for the round of 16 and beyond. What do you make of that? Do you think that Leroy Sané would have made enough of a difference that they would have qualified, or do you think that the German squad was doomed regardless?
I'm going to agree with Chris on this one. I mean, Sané had a brilliant season at United, and I think compared to all the other players they play as a striker, like Mario Gomez, Werner, I don't even know his first name, compared to them, he's miles ahead. I think if they did have Sané, I think they probably would have made it into the last 16, but it probably would have been similar to how France made it, not in a very convincing style.
Absolutely. Well, it may well have been, but we'll we can't see, but we can enjoy Germany going out, can't we? They're a country that certainly is, as an Englishman, I don't know how the score is as a Scot for you. Germany is a country that I certainly love to hate, even though I do like Germany as a country. But when it comes to football, yeah, sorry. Anyway, moving on again. Final World Cup topic of the afternoon, and it is going to be introduced by Underdogs by Chris Young.
Hometown crowd, Friday night lights, second string quarterback coming off the sidelines. One last play, Hail Mary prayer, holding their breath when he threw it in the air. Now Cubs are racing, flags are waving, he's on their shoulders famous. Here's one for the underdogs, let them hear you, y'all. Well, hell yeah, they might get knocked down, but everybody loves how they don't stay down for long. Pretty soon they're 10 feet tall. From odds that can't win to the comeback kid, yeah, come on. Here's one for the underdogs. Granddad's farm, handed down. Everybody said he'd run it in the ground. Spent 4 long years baling that hay. Little by little got the whole loan paid. Hard work's paying off. You wouldn't believe he's making small town history. Here's one for the underdogs. Let them hear you, y'all. Well, hell yeah, they might get knocked down, but everybody loves how they don't stay down for long. Pretty soon they're 10 feet tall. From odds that can't win to the comeback kid, yeah, come on. Here's one for the underdogs. Here's one for the underdogs. Let them hear you, y'all. Well, hell yeah, they might get knocked down, but everybody loves how they don't stay down for long. Pretty soon they're 10 feet tall. From odds that can't win to the comeback kid, yeah, come on. Here's one for the underdogs. Yeah, here's one for the underdogs.
Chris Young there with Underdogs, which might be the theme of the upcoming round of 16 fixtures. We are going to run through, hopefully, each of them, apart from maybe the Colombia one, but Colombia England. Let me try that again. Colombia, England. Not the easiest 2 words to say at the same time. Anyway, obviously we've got France and Argentina going on at the moment. France still leading 1-0 thanks to Antoine Griezmann penalty after 13 minutes. Matty, we touched on it earlier, but do you think that is exactly how the result, not necessarily the score, but the result is going to stay, that France are going to progress? Or do you think that Argentina might turn it around?
I think France will progress, and deservedly so. I mean, neither Argentina and France have just been awful at this World Cup, to be honest. Although France definitely have the depth and the talent to win it, more so than Argentina.
And do you think that, even with Lionel Messi, because let's not forget that Cristiano Ronaldo has been the talisman for Portugal. They're not necessarily the best players, both at Euro 2016 and, of course, progressing, I believe, to finish second in their group B. Argentina have obviously Messi, who isn't doing the same for Argentina, in spite of the fact that Argentina generally have the better squad, especially when you compare it to someone like Portugal. So do you think that because that makes Messi less of a player? Do you think that because he can't carry his team in the same way, despite being this talismanic captain that Ronaldo also is for Portugal? Or do you think that there are problems within the Argentinian squad that lie far deeper than that in, let's say, the French or the Portuguese squads?
I think it's just problems in the Argentine squad, certainly, because when footballers are growing up in Argentina, like the national icons are all attackers. You know, Maradona, Messi, and all that. You don't like there aren't any like legendary Argentine centre backs. So like if a kid's growing up in Argentina and wants to play football, they don't want to like be a left back or a right back or a defensive midfielder. They want to be like a forward. So that's why Argentina, the squad, have so many like good forwards, but they don't have the quality behind them in order to make that count.
So even though it's a slight cheat, because we know that one goal's been scored, what are your predictions for the end of this game? France versus Argentina. France 1-0 up at the moment. How's it going to finish, Matty G?
I think 2-0 France.
Okay, yeah, I think I'd have to get on board with that. I can't see Argentina necessarily breaking France down. If they are to, it'll be by 1 goal at the most. See, I think 2-0 is probably a good prediction. Uruguay-Portugal coming up next. That is at 7 this evening. Uruguay obviously having Luis Suarez, top striker. We know that he is probably, apart from Messi, the main man at Barcelona. And then of course Portugal have Cristiano Ronaldo, as I mentioned a moment ago, in the same capacity as Messi, but performing to a greater extent in that role. He is, I believe, joint second highest top scorer in the competition with 4, along with Romelu Lukaku.
Yeah.
Can you see him extending his scoring run against Uruguay? Can you see Suarez notching up another goal? Where do you see the balance of play falling this evening?
I think it'll fall to Uruguay. Both like teams have world-class attackers, Portugal Ronaldo, Uruguay of Suarez and Cavani. But I think because Uruguay's 2 centre-backs are both very good and very gel because they play at both country and club level, I think Ronaldo can probably grab one. But I don't see him running rampant against like a defence that's that strong, especially at the centre. Whereas the Portuguese defence is shaky at best, I'd say. So I think that will be a high-scoring game, but I think Uruguay will edge it.
So do you think that Uruguay having a stronger attack, having a stronger defence, maybe a weaker attack, might prove to be beneficial compared to Portugal, who's probably got a stronger attack but a weaker defence?
I think so, because Uruguay they have several key players, whereas Portugal really only have one.
Okay, so predictions for this evening's game then: Uruguay versus Portugal. Matty G, back over to you.
3-1 Uruguay.
Oh wow, that is a bold prediction. I would have to go completely, I think 2-1 Portugal, but
okay.
If it is proven to be correct, Matty, you've got a G&T or Gin and Coke on me.
Oh, yes.
Spain versus Russia. That is tomorrow's game at 3 p.m. Spain, of course, winning Group B. Russia, despite their fantastic start to the World Cup as the hosts, winning 5-0 and 3-1, ended up losing to Uruguay, and they ended up finishing in second in Group A. Spain, of course, having also Diego Costa, who is a phenomenal striker. Russia not necessarily having that one world-class player in their squad, despite being generally not bad a team. Where do you see this going, Matty?
Despite Spain's obvious like being just generally better on paper, I think it'll be close. I don't expect Russia to get a goal, although I said that before the Spain-Morocco match and it was 2-2 draw. But I think this will probably be 1-0 Spain.
Yeah, I think I'd have to get on board with that. I can't see Russia scoring against Spain equally. I can't see Spain scoring that many goals. So at the moment we're saying France and Spain definitely to go through. We're saying Uruguay and Portugal. So good mix so far. Croatia versus Denmark tomorrow at 7 p.m. Thoughts?
Croatia have the better talisman. I'd say Modric is better than Eriksen. And not only that, I say Croatia have other players across the pitch that are actually like at least just under that level, in the sense they have Rebic, who's up-and-coming prospect, and they've got Rakitic in midfield. So I think Denmark might nick a goal if they're lucky, but I think Croatia will win that 2 or 3-0.
Yeah, I can see a similar result, to be honest with you, for pretty much the same reasons as you said. I think that Christian Eriksen is a very good player. We can't get away from that. He is one of the best players at Tottenham Hotspur by a mile. Harry Kane and Dele Alli alongside him, but apart from those three, Heung-min Son probably a step below that, and then apart from that, I think it's relatively average. I can't think of any other players in that Danish side that can change a game in that way. Whereas, as you were talking about with Croatia, they got Modric, even Mandzukic, and so on. So yeah, I can't see past a Croatia win. I would probably have to go for a 2-0 Croatia win there. Brazil-Mexico coming on to Monday now, 3 p.m. kickoff. I think I know where you're going with this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Brazil-Mexico, thoughts? Where's it going to go?
I honestly don't know. I've been watching Brazil so far at this World Cup. They haven't really done well in building up from like strong possession play. Like they've been better on the counter-attack, and that's similar to Mexico's style of play. So I could honestly see that game going either way. Like if Mexico get a good game and Brazil just aren't having a good game, I could see them easily going through, whereas I could also see the opposite result happening. I think that's going to be one of the games to watch.
Before I give my verdict on Brazil-Mexico, there's been another goal in the France-Argentina game. Argentina have equalised. Angel Di Maria with, by all accounts, an absolute screamer. My source is telling me, wow. So if that doesn't say that's a good goal, I don't quite know what does. But yeah, Argentina levelling with France there, 1-1. It's as you were, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So back to France-Mexico. I have to echo you, really. Brazil, just a far too strong a team. Mexico have Javier Hernandez, Lozano, and that is really about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Brazil, Neymar, Coutinho, Jesus, say no more, really. Yeah, Brazil, 2-0, I would have to say. Slightly conservative, yeah. Later that evening is Belgium against Japan. Again, I think I know where you're going with this, but anyway, how badly do you think Belgium are going to beat Germany? Sorry, Japan.
3-0, I think. Japan they haven't done badly at this World Cup. They only lost one of their games so far. But I think they just won't be able to do it against Belgium, who have been one of the best teams at this World Cup so far.
Yeah, I have to, again, echo that. I think Japan were in one of those situations where they were in a group where the team that was expected to top, in my opinion, Poland, completely defied expectation in the wrong way in finishing bottom. So that immediately left 3, in my opinion, again, average teams. And Japan ended up going through on having fewer yellow cards than Senegal, which isn't the best way to go through. So on principle, you have to say that they're not that good a team. Even taking that away, I think that Belgium are far too strong for Japan. So yeah, I think 3-0 is probably a fair prediction, actually. Yeah. So moving on to Tuesday, before Colombia play against England, I'll ask your prediction. We've already spoken about preview analysis of that. So Sweden against Switzerland, and this is obviously the winner of this is who England could potentially play in the quarterfinals. Sweden versus Switzerland. Matty G, back over to you. What are your thoughts?
Oh, well, Sweden have done very well. I mean, they lost to Germany undeservedly, and they convincingly beat Mexico. Whereas Switzerland, I always see them as underdog, even though they are one of the highest ranked teams in the world and do get the results. I mean, they drew with Brazil and beat the other 2 teams in their group, so they certainly didn't do badly. I think this match will certainly go to extra time, because both teams, Switzerland probably have the better attack, but Sweden definitely have the better defence, in my opinion.
Okay.
So I could see this one going to extra time and possibly penalties, unless there's a moment of magic from most likely someone in the Swiss team.
And the eventual outcome, therefore?
I think Switzerland will make it through to quarterfinals.
Okay, so let's then very quickly have a little chat about how you think England are going to do against Colombia. I also, by the way, think that Switzerland will beat Sweden. So England versus Colombia. Again, I suspect I know where you're going with this, but once again, your thoughts on England versus Colombia. How many goals are going to be scored and conceded by Gareth Southgate's men?
Well, England have the better squad on paper, in my opinion. But I really like, especially the Colombian centre-backs. They're both young talents, so they may make mistakes, which I think will gift England goals, as well as England just having Harry Kane on the pitch. But I think Colombia's attack's also pretty good, so I'm gonna go Colombia 2-1.
There's a door right behind you, Matty. I think you should walk through it. No, that's not going to be the case at all. I'm an Englishman. I'm a proud Englishman. I will not stand for that. 5-0 England. Let's have it. 3 lines on a shirt. It's coming home. Half time now. Matty G, It's your time to shine. Your first song of the afternoon. What are you going for?
My first song of the afternoon is going to be Centuries by Fall Out Boy.
And why have you gone for Centuries by Fall Out Boy?
Because I have a very certain taste in music and I want to ease the listeners into it.
Let's go.
Some legends are told, some turn to dust or to gold, but you will remember me for centuries. Just one mistake is all it will take. We'll go down in history. Remember me for centuries. Remember me for centuries. Mama tied my teenage dreams. No, it's nothing wrong with me. The kids are all wrong, the stories are wrong. Heavy metal broke my heart. Come on and let me in. Bruises on your thighs like my fingerprints. This is for to match the darkness that you felt. I never meant for you to fix yourself. Some legends are told, some turn to dust or to gold, but you will remember me for centuries. Just one mistake is all it will take. We'll go down in history. Remember me for centuries. Remember me for centuries. I can't stop till the whole world knows my name, 'cause I was only born inside my dreams. Until you die for me, as long as there's a light, my shadow's over you, 'cause I am the opposite of amnesia. And you're a cherry blossom, you're about to bloom. You look so pretty, but you're gone so soon. Some legends are told, some turn to dust or to gold, but you will remember me for centuries. Just one mistake is all it will take. We'll go down in history. Remember me for centuries. Remember me for centuries. We've been here forever, and here's the chosen proof. I could scream forever. We are the poison Some legends are told, some turn to dust or to gold, but you will remember me for centuries. Just one mistake is all it will take. We'll go down in history. Remember me for centuries. We'll go down in history. Remember me for centuries.
For the borough of Solihull.
Solihullradio.com.
Thank you, Matty, for that wonderful choice of song. I'm not quite sure what that little interference was, but yeah, back to our chat about Matty G. Thank you for that song, which was Centuries by Fall Out Boy. Let me just warn you, if you thought that was good, bad, or otherwise, I can promise you that is as good as it gets with Matthew Gerard's choice of music. So yeah, you can brace yourself for what's to come in a few moments' time. But we are going to have a little chat about my team and also Matty's team, which is of course Manchester United. The recent news being that Marouane Fellaini has signed a new contract. Thoughts, Matty G?
I mean, I know everyone says he's a bad player, and he has been a bad player, But I thought in the game, again, the Belgium-England game, he did actually do quite well. He blocked a shot that was probably going to go in, and he made a couple of shots on target, which weren't bad. So, I mean, he isn't a bad player overall. He just isn't a good player, but he's someone who's useful to have in, I guess, a tough situation, just because he's such a physical player.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't start him in a much, but I certainly use him as an impact sub. So I guess it's better to have him than not have him.
And do you think that it is a negative kind of approach, if you like, that when it comes to those latter stages of the game, bearing in mind that he's not very good with his feet, that he is being used solely for those long balls over the top in order to try and chance our luck? Do you think that it's not better to try and fashion an opportunity or an opening from good play, or do you think that it is actually very beneficial just to launch it up and see what happens?
I think in some games it's just very difficult to fashion such an opportunity from open play, especially against either teams that you're playing against that have a lot of possession, such as Spain when Portugal played against them, or either just against like smaller teams that like go really defensive and try to just get a point. Like in the latter stages of the game, something on someone who is good, who's at least good from set pieces and can like maybe try and get a goal a different way. I don't think that's a bad thing. It might not be the most positive thing to do, but I think sometimes you can't win every game playing the best football. Sometimes you just have to like grind through it and get an ugly win, and I think he's good for that.
That's a very true point, actually, and certainly that has been something that's been the case since Jose Mourinho took charge of United a couple of years ago, that not playing the most attractive football, that grinding out the results, no matter how ugly, seems to be the Mourinho way at United. Do you think that is a good strategy to have, or would you rather, and I have a feeling again I know what you're going to say, but would you rather have the Jurgen Klopp approach where you play more attractive football but you don't win anything at all, or would you prefer the Mourinho approach where it's not very nice to watch but at the end of the day he gets the job done? Because I think we are veering toward outside of an era of the Sir Alex Ferguson kind of thing where you get both. It seems to be the case that you either have one or the other, but getting both seems to be something that's quite alien nowadays.
I think Mourinho was the right appointment at the time. I think the squad, before he was appointed, certainly needed improvement, and he has done that. And he certainly, I think, improved United to the best. This is the best they've been playing since Ferguson left. But I think maybe in a year or two, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to get someone in like Klopp at the end of the day. Like, just to change things up and see what happens. Because at the end of it, like, with the current squad and the current thing that's going, I don't see us winning the Premier League for the next couple of years. Like, we would need to try something radically different. I'd say to try and do what Man City did. But I would certainly think if Mourinho stayed around, he could probably definitely win us, like, at least one trophy every couple of seasons, if not more than that, just in the cup competitions.
Okay, so are you kind of on my train of thought whereby this season is the make or break season? If he doesn't win one of the Premier League or the Champions League, then that's it. Thanks, Jose, it's been a wonderful 3 years, but we need to part ways at this moment in time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think see him at the end of the contract. Let him sign more players who will probably improve and bolster the squad, certainly, and at least he'll probably get us to another top 4 finish. And I hopefully won't do as badly this year in the Champions League as last year. And
finally, talking about United, we've made a couple of signings, of course, in this transfer window. First man in the door was Diogo Daulo. I think I pronounced that correctly. What do you think of him? I didn't know too much about him before he was linked with us, and he seems like a good prospect. But certainly you have to look at who he's going to be playing instead of. I believe he's a fullback, so I think he's a left back even. So again, Luke Shaw, Ashley Young, question marks over their futures. What do you make of Daulo?
I like him. I mean, he's a good prospect. I mean, I would have always preferred Mourinho tried Shaw a bit more, but I think, at least in Mourinho's case, that's a dead end. Young is certainly good, but he is 32, so he will, even if he is still the first choice left back in the bigger games, he's not going to be playing every game of the season. So I think, at least at the start, this new Portuguese guy is certainly a good backup, hopefully, and as Young gets older and older, he can move into being the first choice left back.
And of course, after he was through the door, we then had Fred. Another Fred the Red at Old Trafford, a more established name in the footballing world. Hopefully good addition. Matty, do you think that he will positively impact that United squad, and who can you see him replacing in the starting lineup, if at all?
He isn't bad. I mean, he scored a free kick against Man City in the Champions League, I believe, and that was when I first heard about him. And then he is in the Brazil squad. He's not a world class signing, but I think he will improve the midfield overall. Although I don't see him being played over Pogba, certainly. Or I would probably put him above the pecking order over Herrera, but slightly below Matic.
Okay, so maybe getting on in some games, but not every game, not necessarily the first name on the team sheet.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So we are going to stick with United, moving on to more question and answer in the form of a quiz. So, very simple, if you're listening to the Tony Cowards episode, I would ask Matthew Gerrard a question. If he knows the answer straight away, and he gets it correct, then he gets 2 points. If he doesn't think he knows the answer, he can then ask for multiple choice, and then I will give him A, B, or C, and then if he gets it right, he'll get 1 point. And obviously, the correct answer will get 0 points regardless. Ready to start, Matty?
I am.
Question number 1. In what year was Manchester United founded? Nice and simple there, hopefully, for you. Maybe not.
Multiple choice, please.
Okay, is it A, 1876? Is it B, 1877? Or is it C, 1878?
I'm going to go with A.
1876 is not the right answer. It's 1878 is the year that Manchester United was founded as Newton Heath LYR. I did forget to preface this by saying this is the easiest football quiz you will ever take as a United fan. Question 2. On what date was the club's name changed from Newton Heath LYR to Manchester United? That is date, month and year.
Oh,
please.
Date, month and year. Well, I'm going to go for multiple choice because I'm not going to get date, month and year.
Is it A, the 25th of April 1902? Is it B, the 26th of April 1902? Or is it C, the 27th of April 1902? As I said, really easy quiz here.
I did know it was 1902, to be fair, but I'm going to go 25th of April.
You're 1 day out, which is always going to happen. It is the 26th of April 1902, so no points as per possible 4 after 2 questions. Question number 3. What is the maximum capacity at Old Trafford?
How to what round number?
To the nearest 1.
78,357.
Not far away. So according to my research, it is not the answer. It is 74,994. Question number 4. To the nearest squared inch, how big is the pitch at Old Trafford?
Oh dear.
As I said, easy quiz.
Right. Well, I know. Okay. Okay. Right. It's 148 meters squared. So I'm gonna work. I'm gonna work this out. So right. So there are 40 inches in a meter. So that is 40 squared, which is 1600. So that's 1600 times 148, which is 160,000, roughly 240,000 square inches.
I cannot believe this. That's the wrong answer.
I know. I knew it was going to be something exact.
I think it's... No, I'm not a mathematician. I've got it completely wrong. I think it's in the region of 11 million.
Oh, why?
No, I might be completely wrong. Feel free to let me know. My calculations weren't the best. Basically, it's not the right answer. Whatever you said is not the right answer. I think it's about 11 million. I got 11,066,718. But anyway.
Okay.
Question number 5. Who nicknamed Old Trafford the Theatre of Dreams? Hopefully a bit more of a more dulcet question for you there.
Is it Matt Busby?
Oh, not far away. It was Sir Bobby Charlton.
Oh.
The options would have been Sir Bobby Charlton, Sir Alex Ferguson, or Sir Josh Samuels. Question number 6. Who assisted Cristiano Ronaldo's goal in the 2008 UEFA Champions League final against Chelsea?
Was it Giggs?
It was not Giggs. I'll let you have multiple choice on this one. Is it A, Paul Scholes, B, Owen Hargreaves, or C, Wes Brown?
Hargreaves.
It was C, Wes Brown. question number 7. Which of these players has never won the Premier League? Obviously, a familiar question for any FC Politics fans out there. Is it A, Jesper Blomqvist? Is it B, Mike Phelan? Or is it C, Steven Gerrard?
I'm going to have to go with C, Steven Gerrard.
2 points for Matty G there. Of course, Steven Gerrard has never won the Premier League. Poor guy. Never lived it down, will he? The slip. Question number 8. Who was the manager of Manchester United from when they were founded in 1878 until 1892?
I'm going to have to go multiple choice in this one.
Is it A, A.H. Albert? Is it B, A.A. Milne? Or is it C, U.N. Known?
A.
A.H. Albert was the second, well, technically the first manager. However, he was not the manager from 1878 until 1892 because there was not a manager during that time. U.N. Known spells out unknown.
Oh.
We don't know who the manager was.
Oh, wow.
The first recorded manager was A.H. Albert there. So, out of a possible 16 points, how many have you got, Matty? Do you know? This isn't one of the questions, it's just asking you.
2.
Very good. Maths is strong at least. Question number 9. According to the official Premier League website, how many times was Ryan Giggs caught offside in the Premier League from 06-07 until his retirement in 2014?
$427.
Close, 29. And final question, number 10. You've got 5 seconds. You have to spell Manchester United backwards from now.
DETINURETSEHCNAM.
Okay, I'll let you have a bit more time there. That's actually very impressive there. 2 points there. So, from a possible 20 points, Matthew Gerrard has scored 4. Congratulations there, Matthew Gerrard.
Woo.
That is very impressive indeed. Now we are going to come on to your second requested song in just a moment's time, but not before I go through the second part of our competition. So of course, last week I asked everyone, all the listeners, if they want to win a pair of England's children's sunglasses. It was very simple. Just email me the answer to the question, who is the current captain of the England squad? Now, I will open this up for another week because I know there are some people that didn't get a chance to listen last week or forgot to email that would like to also take part this week. So that is also open. If you want to send that in this week, then please get that to me as soon as possible. We had a lot of entries, actually, surprising amount of entries. And therefore that takes me into the second question of 2. I will announce the winner at the end of the show. So question number 2, if you got your pen and paper at the ready, or if you want to text the answer to me, or even email me or tweet me. So I'll just give you a reminder of the number, which is text me is 075 64 30 30 64, or to email studio@studyholeradio.com, or Facebook or Twitter. You can either contact the studio, Study Hole Radio on Facebook, or studyhole_radio on Twitter, or me, Samuels Radio on Twitter. The question is, who is the current England manager? So that is, who is the current manager of the England squad at this World Cup? So to text 075 64 30 30 64, studio@studyholeradio.com. If you forget those details, they are also on our website, studyholeradio.com. As I said, I will be announcing the winner at the end of the show, and hopefully it will be one of you. I'm sure it will be. But back over to you, Matthew Gerrard, for your second requested song of the afternoon.
My second requested song is going to be Vermilion by Slipknot.
And why have you gone for Vermilion?
I just listen to it when I'm studying.
I can only apologise for this. I will see you in a few.
Dressed in all the rings of past fatalities.
so sorry for that. Thank you for that though, Matty. That's I guess that's a nice tune nonetheless. It's got us into the mood, I would say, for the second quiz of the afternoon, which is about, of course, Scotland. You ready for this? This is going to be along the same line, but hopefully questions that you've got.
Hopefully I'm ready.
Better chance of answering. So question number 1, let's remember it's about Scotland. When did Scotland last win the World Cup?
They have never won the World Cup.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to remind you of that. Still correct though. 2 out of 2. Question number 2. What is Scotland's best finish at a World Cup?
I believe that is a first round exit at the group stage.
Also correct. Actually, I've got that as 9th, but I'll give you that anyway. I can't remember. We'll give that as 9th. Question number 3. Which of these former Scotland managers has never managed Manchester United as well? Is it A, Sir Matt Busby? Is it B, Tommy Docherty? Or C, Sir Alex Ferguson?
I'm going to have to go with B, Tommy Docherty.
Trick question, they've all managed United. Sorry, Matty, you're a Scot. Question number 4. When was the last time Scotland actually qualified for a World Cup?
Was it Italia 90?
It was not. It was France 1998.
Ah.
Number 5. In the 15 editions of the European Championships, how many times have Scotland qualified?
None?
Not quite that bad. It's 2.
Oh.
Question number 6. When Scotland lost 1-0 to Lithuania in 2003, where were Lithuania in the FIFA World Rankings?
87th?
Not far away. 101st.
Okay.
Question number 7. Which of these players has never won the World Cup? Is it A, Cleberson, B, Lionel Charbonnier, or C, Kenny Dalglish?
I'm going to have to go with C, Kenny Dalglish.
It is correct. Scotland, and therefore Kenny Dalglish, has never won the World Cup. I'm actually taking a drink there. I think he's feeling a little bit bitter. Question number 8. How many matches did Scotland win at the 1998 World Cup?
1.
1 away, none. They won no matches at the 1998 World Cup. Question number 9. Which of these teams did not qualify out of Group F in the 2018 World Cup qualifiers? Is it A, England, or B, Scotland?
Well, despite all of Leigh Griffiths' easy goals against Joe Hart at the time, sadly, Scotland did not qualify.
Can confirm that is indeed correct. Question number 10 of 11. Which country won the 1966 World Cup?
Sadly, it was England.
Also correct. And question number 11. In the song 3 Lions, what is coming home?
Football.
Football is coming home. That is correct. Let me just see what you scored there. 4. And we'll keep going with that. 6. 8. 10. 12 out of possible 22 there. Not bad at all.
Nice.
Moving on to your final song of the afternoon. Now, as I said, if you thought that the last 2 songs were Music Paradise, then you're in for a real treat. That's all I'm going to say about that. Matty G, final song of the afternoon. What is it and why?
The final song of the afternoon is Wolves Against the World.
No, seriously, why?
Because it's a good song.
Take your soul back home and lead you to the door. No word forgiven, for we sin. The Holy Wolf Brigade, the priest of metal blade, scream words of wicked in the wind. Forever, wolves against the world. and we swear. Come near, my friend, and see. Your soul we guarantee. We rise to rebel, so beware.
Fed up with condensation every morning and hate that yucky mould patch in the bathroom? It's time to contact EnviroVent. They've helped tackle mould and condensation dampness in over 1 million homes, just like yours. To find out more and to book a free home survey, visit envirovent.com, because air matters.
SolihullRadio.com.
Stagecoach Solihull teaches skills
in drama, singing, and dance.
But these skills don't just vanish when the curtain falls.
They're skills for life, stretching imaginations and improving literacy.
For a career in the arts, learning new skills, or just having fun.
So visit our website
www.stagecoach.co.uk/Solihull.
Stagecoach Solihull. Skills for the arts.
Skills for life.
Yeah!
The Fireplace and Stove Centre, 1204 Stratford Road, Hall Green. Specialists in wood-burning stoves, gas and electric fires with over 50 live displays in the showroom. Come in and experience your new fireplace solutions. Call 0121 777 85 85 for more details.
You're listening to Solihull Radio.
Indian Dream on Dovehouse Parade, Solihull's premier family-run restaurant offering authentic Indian and Bangladeshi cuisine with fresh ingredients and creative chefs. They can provide bespoke dining experiences, eat in or take away. 0121 704 9058.
Solihull Radio.
So yeah, interesting song there, Matty. I haven't got much to say about that, really. Yeah. Anyway, so France and Argentina. When we last mentioned the result, it was 1-1. Argentina then went 2-1 in front thanks to a goal from Mercado. But France have now brought it back, left to 2-2, with another, by all accounts, wonderful screamer by Pavard. So it's now 2-2. Matty, thoughts?
This is definitely not what I expected the game to go, considering neither team has been scoring much during the group stages. I mean, France have scored now 40% of their goals in this match from the whole World Cup.
Yeah.
So.
It's now 3-2 France. What a game this is turning out to be.
Wow.
So can you see Argentina getting an equaliser? Or do you think that this is it now that France are going to just take the momentum for the final 20 minutes or so of the game?
Well, I honestly, I think I would expect France have the momentum, or at least Argentina to not score. But based on this game, I think Argentina will probably get an equaliser.
Okay, well, we will see what happens in a few moments' time. We are having a chat about transfer talk, which is going to be introduced by Rascal Flats, and I'm moving on.
I've dealt with my ghost and I've faced all my demons. Finally content with the past I regret. I've found you find strength in your moments of weakness. For once I'm at peace with myself. I've been burdened with blame, trapped in the past for too long. I'm moving on. I've lived in this place and I know all the faces. Each one is different, but they're always the same. They mean me no harm, but it's time that I face it. They'll never allow me to change. But I never dreamed home would end up where I don't belong. I'm moving on. I'm moving on. At last I can see life has been patiently waiting for me, and I know there's no guarantees, but I'm not alone. There comes a time in everyone's life when all you can see are the years passing by, and I have made up my mind that those days are gone. I sold what I could and packed what I couldn't. Stopped to fill up on my way out of town. I've loved like I should, but lived like I shouldn't. I had to lose everything to find out. Maybe forgiveness will find me somewhere down this road. I'm moving on. I'm moving on. I'm moving on.
So hopefully we didn't lose you from those songs of Matty's. Hopefully we've got you back again for some nice, soothing Rascal Flats there for you on Solihull Radio, on the Josh Samuels Show, with me, of course, Josh Samuels, and my guest, Matty G. So, another goal has been scored in the France-Argentina game. It is now 4-2 to France. France looking like they're going through to the next round after all. Mbappe scoring his second of the afternoon there. And I'm sure the scoring isn't quite done just yet. We'll, of course, be keeping you updated as and when each goal goes in. But transfer talk, of course, we can't, talk about football in the summer without talking about transfers for a bit. So we are going to. There's been some rumours swirling around. Any of you caught your eye, Matty?
I haven't seen many transfers going around, really. It's been pretty bleak Mainly due to the World Cup. I mean,
Yeah.
Fred's gone to United. That's been pretty big. I actually can't think of any off the top of my head.
There was Key who very recently, I think it was yesterday actually, joined Newcastle from Swansea. Key Sung Young. So what do you make of that? He's obviously not been that vocal, so to speak, for Swansea in recent years on the pitch, but certainly a good player nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, he did well for South Korea at the World Cup, I guess.
R.I.P. South Korea.
Yeah, I mean, he did play his part in the thrashing of Germany.
And of course, one of the biggest news stories outside of the World Cup of the last couple of days is Wayne Rooney finally completing his transfer to DC United. Can you see the logic in that from both sides?
Yeah, mainly because Rooney now goes to a league where he doesn't have to perform as he did in the Premier League, so it's more relaxing on him. He gets paid a lot of money, obviously, because China and America and all the places with rubbish leagues are trying to draw people in with money. And DC United get one of, if certainly not now, but certainly one of the best strikers, who is past his prime but was one of the best and most famous strikers of his time, Man United record goal scorer. So that's good for them in market value.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of United, in a sense, there's been the longer ongoing saga for the last couple of months, really, about Willian becoming the third Chelsea player in only a few years that could potentially make the move from Stamford Bridge to Old Trafford. A, do you think it's going to happen? And B, do you think it would be a good move for United? And do you think it will actually be a good move for Chelsea, really?
I don't think it would be a good move for Chelsea because they need all the attackers they can get since they told Diego Costa to go elsewhere. I mean, United have a lot of attackers now. I mean, I certainly wouldn't look on the move as bad, although I don't think that's the area they should be prioritising at this moment, I think.
And then, even then though, where would Willian fit in with the United setup?
No idea, that's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, is it going to be a case of getting too many players in those positions? Because we obviously have Martial and Rashford who are, in similar positions. Sanchez, of course, signed just in January.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it might become a case of hoarding too many players in that position, which obviously wouldn't be a good thing at all for anyone, really. And then there's not much really going on. Chambers signing a new contract at Arsenal. Of course, Fellaini, as we mentioned earlier on, signing a new contract at United. And then there's the other transfer that Chelsea are interested in signing Russia's Golovin.
Ooh.
What do you think of that?
How old is Golovin?
I'm not too sure, actually. I don't think.
I mean, if he's a young player.
He's 22. Yeah, he's 22.
Okay. I guess I can see the sense in that move. I mean, he's impressed so far in the World Cup, but not as a main goal scorer, but certainly as a creator.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can see the logic behind that move, although that wouldn't be the first person I'd go after.
Well, he certainly scored in the World Cup. And speaking of Chelsea, not necessarily transfers, but managerial changes. Do you think that Antonio Conte will be there come the first game of the season, which will be the Community Shield for Chelsea, or do you think that it will be someone like Sarri, someone else, someone with a different take on it once again? It seems to be the Chelsea way, doesn't it? They're on a cycle of managers of a maximum really 3 years, and then once they don't win the Premier League, or they really not even that much but underperform, then they're out and the next manager's in. So do you think that Conte could and should leave Chelsea?
I think if they're going to get rid of Conte, they would have done it at the end of the season. And they still haven't done it yet, which a month into the transfer window makes me think he might be around to stay at least until November, December.
Yeah. And then again, do you think that I've not spoken about this with you, and seeing there isn't more transfers, I will throw this at you, whether Unai Emery is a good choice for Arsenal manager, because replacing, as United fans, we saw that replacing a long-serving manager, even though Arsenal manager didn't really achieve in the last decade, is no easy task. And he has a big job in his hands, Unai Emery, in rejuvenating and galvanising the squad to actually win trophies, to put Arsenal back to where they think they should be.
I mean, he certainly impressed at Sevilla, winning Europa League 3 years running. I mean, he didn't do badly at PSG. I mean, he didn't win league titles first year in charge, but that Monaco squad have certainly been sold off for a lot of money. So I think he's not a bad manager, or at least he hasn't underperformed anywhere. But I don't think he's certainly overperformed in Sevilla. He's just put clubs where they normally are. In PSG's case, winning everything domestic, but not doing very well in Europe.
And even then, he obviously didn't win the league a couple of seasons ago on a massive budget. So, yeah, interesting times for Arsenal. It might be that they are a regular team in the Europa League in the seasons to come, as long as he is there. And even another managerial question mark, in my opinion, not so much in the broader spectrum, over Jurgen Klopp, something else that we did brush upon a few moments ago, and that it's the question of attractive football versus essentially winning. And Jurgen Klopp has certainly proven during his time at Liverpool that he is not a winning manager when it comes to trophies. No matter how close they get, they just seem to fall at that final hurdle, provided they even get there in the first place. So Jurgen Klopp, how long would you give him, provided he doesn't win a trophy?
I think another season, because I mean, at the end of the day, he brought in Salah. Yes, Salah scored 32 goals, breaking the record. But at the end of the day, Liverpool finished in the same position as last season, but with 2 fewer points. So I mean, what good did it actually do?
Well, this is the thing. I think that yes, he has instilled a good mentality at Liverpool. I think you can't get away from that. But I think, for me, and this is something that I say over and over again, and it is so obvious, but it doesn't matter how good you play, for all the goals you might score, for all the, not so much Liverpool say, clean sheets you might keep, for all the hugs you might give your players, it counts for nothing if you are not winning. And Liverpool fans just aren't seeming to get that. That, yeah, alright, he might hug their players when they come off, when they're subbed off or whatever, that he might do whatever when they might get them playing really, really attractive football. But the fact is, as you very rightly said, this is his 3rd season now that he's not won a trophy at Anfield. They finished in exactly the same position as they did last season with 2 fewer points. Meanwhile, Jose Mourinho, for all the criticism he may be getting for the boring style of play that he is exhibiting as manager of Manchester United, the fact is, we finished 4 places higher than we did last in the previous season. We might not have won any trophies this season, but the progress that is being made at United is far more evident than could ever be said for that at Liverpool. And yet, Mourinho will be criticised over and over and over again for being boring. But as he said when he was talking about Arsene Wenger a few years ago, the important thing for him is to win. So he would rather be a boring person that wins than a specialist in failure, as Arsene Wenger was. And even linked to that, really, talking about when Frank de Boer said that Marcus Rashford would not do well under Mourinho because, in Mourinho's words, the most important thing for Mourinho is to win. And I think that is a mentality that is getting lost in all the attractiveness that is going on at Liverpool. And it can eventually get quite dangerous. Would you not agree?
I would. I do think the Liverpool have started showing up the problems, at least, especially in defence. But I think they need to buy a good keeper. And I think once they do that, then they might stand a chance of actually winning something.
Absolutely, I would have to agree with you there. And we're moving on to our final song, well, penultimate technically, of the afternoon. Now, I'm going to play it soon. I'll give you a few seconds to see if you can guess what we're going to be talking about. Just get that up. The iPad doesn't want to play games with me today. Let's just try and get that up for you. In the meantime, here we are, I think, let's see. There we go. So, what we're going to be talking about, Scottish football in a few minutes on the Josh Samuels Show on Solihull Radio. See you in a few.
I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you when I go out. Yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. If I get drunk, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who gets drunk next to you. And if I haver, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who's havering to you. But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more just to be the man who walked 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. I'm lonely, well I know I'm gonna be the man who's lonely without you. And when I'm dreaming, well I know I'm gonna dream about the time when I'm with you. When I go out, well I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. And when I come home, yes I know I'm gonna be the man who comes back home with you. I'm gonna be the man who's coming home with you. But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more just to be the man who walks 1,000 miles to fall down at your door.
Miles there by the Proclaimers. Obviously talking about Scottish football, that's what we're leading on to. Now, Matty G, obviously Stephen Gerrard taking over at Rangers. Do you think that his impact is going to be enough to launch to be able to overtake Celtic as Scotland's best team?
I don't think so, no. Because Celtic have definitely got the finances to stay at the top a lot more than many of the other clubs, and they also have the players in the draw, since they're the only Scottish football club that does anything in Europe, even if it is go out in the Champions League group stage. And to be honest, Rangers are struggling to even be the second best team in Scotland, because Aberdeen have been performing well these last few years.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But what would you pinpoint that down to? Because yes, okay, Rangers have had their financial difficulties, but even then, Celtic, for all the money that they have, it's not in the relativity of football. It's not really that much. So, what would attract any decent player that would be good enough to make a difference between Celtic and Rangers, that would convince someone to sign for Celtic and not, say, a bottom half team in the Premier League, or even go abroad?
I think what would take at least what Rangers... I think certainly appointing a manager like Gerrard is probably a good way to try and do that. But I think also... I think they need to actually go out and show that even without signing anyone, they can still at least do better than they currently are. I think they don't... given the players that they already do have, I think they should be performing better than they are, even if not in the league overall, but at least in some cup competitions. Because nearly every Celtic Rangers match these days just ends with Celtic triumphantly winning.
Absolutely not. I have to agree with that. But do you think that Steven Gerrard himself is enough to convince players to sign for Rangers, or do you think that there's something beyond that? Because do you think that, let's just say they kept Graham Murty in the manager's seat? Do you think that players are more likely to sign for Steven Gerrard because they know what he did as a player, as opposed to Graham Murty, who went a bit under the radar? Some people might have heard of him as an obscure Premier League player, but obviously all around the world people know who Steven Gerrard is. So do you think that he, even though he's yet to prove himself as a manager, that what he did as a player is enough in order to attract players from far and wide to play for Rangers, and certainly above Celtic?
I do. I think many players, even if they don't know much about Rangers or the whole Celtic thing, I think many players at roughly the right level would want to work under Steven Gerrard at one point. So I think if he can get them there under Rangers and they actually do well quite quickly, then I think that's a good platform in which to build an actual rivalry in Scottish football.
Can you see him staying there long term?
I think if he does well in his first couple of seasons, then yes. Because, I mean, this is his first managerial job. If he likes it and does well, then he really has no reason to leave unless he's offered, unless one of the positions at one of the best clubs in the world comes through and he just can't resist.
And do you think that he could one day even be the Liverpool manager? Because obviously a player like Gerrard has Liverpool within his blood. You know, he is essentially Liverpool Football Club. So, do you think that he could one day return, or do you think there's the possibility that he could taint his legacy at Liverpool by having an unsuccessful managerial stint at Anfield?
I think he may return. I think he might. Certainly not after Klopp. I think it'll be a couple of coaches down the line, but I think at some point he probably will.
Okay, that's certainly interesting to see further down the line. But talking about Celtic now, Brendan Rodgers, having won the treble last season, having won the league again this season. Did they win the treble again? I can't remember.
I think so.
If they did, I really don't remember. They certainly lost their unbeaten run, but either way, do you think that he's a good manager? Because we saw what he did. He brought Swansea up to the Premier League, and then he took over at Liverpool. Yeah, he got into second, but really that was guided by Luis Suarez. Do his trophies at Celtic speak for themselves, or do you think that there is more than meets the eye in terms of deciding whether Rodgers is or isn't a good manager?
I think there's more than meets the eye. I think he's someone like Unai Emery. He's had patches of actual good managerial spells, but most of it's just as expected. I mean, Guardiola was second, with Luis Suarez in the team, that's sort of expected. Whereas I guess in Celtic, especially in the current climate, winning the treble is sort of expected. So I think he's not a bad manager, but he hasn't shown enough to be considered a good or a great manager.
I'd have to agree with that, and certainly in terms of Celtic as a whole, why do they not perform well in Europe? Because they were, of course, the first British team to win the European Cup. They have the European Cup in their history, they have it in their being, and to a certain extent part of why they are the biggest club in Scotland is because they have that European Cup under their belt. Obviously that doesn't necessarily contribute to them being good nowadays, but would you not expect them to maybe put more into it? Because as far as Scottish football goes, it's almost a given every season that they're going to win the league now, especially with Rangers having had their financial problems and having been relegated. So can you see maybe why Celtic don't seem as bothered by the Champions League? Because let's not forget they had that win against Barcelona a few years ago, but that was kind of their biggest moment in their recent history. So, A, do you think that Celtic are good enough to, let's just say, progress out of the group stages of the Champions League? And B, do you think Celtic want it enough in order to force that change?
I think I don't think it's anything to do with the players wanting enough. It's just the simple fact is Scottish football isn't the stadiums usually are full, but most of the money that football gets these days comes from TV money, just selling the viewing rights off the matches, and not many people just want to watch Scottish football. So I think at the end of the day they've just fallen behind financially, and I think especially in the Champions League, you can't afford to do that. I think if in a domestic league, if you're behind financially, you can still surprise more financially stable teams. But I think in European football, I think they don't have the muscle behind them to continually produce and try and build themselves up to a stage where they would get out of the groups.
Well, certainly finances is all linked with whether the league's popular or not, because the Premier League has so much money in it, because it is certainly perceived to be the most exciting league in the world, not necessarily the best, but certainly the most exciting. So, given that it is essentially a one-team league in Scotland, how do you generate more excitement in order to generate more money for more competition, and therefore increase Scotland's chances of doing well against the European competition?
I think appointing Steven Gerrard is good in that respect, because it attracts attention to Scottish football that it wouldn't otherwise get if it signed some below average or average player or just another manager who'd been there and done that. So I think they need to essentially try and do what the MLS are doing, but more tactically, so they don't spend all their money in one go.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, as an Englishman, once again, it pleases me that Scottish teams don't get far. But taking a neutral standpoint for a second, It is quite worrying, really, because even when it was a 2D team, there was a kind of, okay, which one out of Celtic or Rangers will win it? There was that element of excitement, but nowadays, what's the point of playing the season? You know who's going to win. So, even though I don't like Steven Gerrard for his Liverpool connections alone, really, I would still like to see Rangers take the title, just because I would like to see someone other than Celtic, and I think Rangers have the best chance. But moving on to the final section of the show, which, as always, is replying to some of the comments and questions that you've posed to me and Matty throughout the last hour and 48 minutes. So, question number 1 is from someone called Matt again, actually. It says, hi, Josh and Matty. Obviously, with Josh, we heard about your pick for the World Cup winners. Matty, who are you going for?
I'm going to go either France or Belgium. I think Belgium, because Belgium have certainly played the most exciting football. I mean, I wouldn't have said France up until they suddenly scored 4 goals in the match today against half-decent opposition, but I think I'm still going to pick Belgium because they've been performing at a 3-4 goals a match for longer than France have, certainly.
Okay, another question in from Joe, asking, again, hello, Josh and Matty. Josh and Matty, after the World Cup group stages, how do you think that England are going to perform against both Colombia, and how far can you see them progressing in the latter stage of the tournament?
I think Colombia will be tougher than their quarter-final match, whoever they play, because Sweden, despite being solid defensively, I don't think have enough in attack to deal enough damage to this England side. And I think Switzerland are too average. They don't have that world-class forward, much like Germany don't. So I think if they do get past Colombia, then I think they will make it to the semis.
I seriously can see us getting to the final. I thank you for the question, by the way, Joe. I can seriously see us getting to the final, because firstly, I don't think Colombia are that good a side, really, and certainly with England's strongest squad, there are not many teams I think that can equal us. Certainly not Colombia. Which then brings us on to the quarterfinals, Switzerland or Sweden. Well, you would have to say it would take some miracle for one of those sides to beat England in any capacity, let alone in the World Cup quarterfinals. So again, progressing to the semis, and then with the progression of the bracket, you would then imagine that England then plays Spain in the semi-finals. And with Spain, can I see Spain beating England? I think Spain's good enough to beat England. I'm really not sure, if I'm honest with you. I'm not sure if Spain are good enough. I certainly don't think they're going to go all the way. I can't see them making the final. Nothing to do with England as well. I just don't think they're good enough to make the final. So I do think England could certainly be in with a shout of beating Spain. And then that takes obviously us to the final. And if I'm going to stick with my prediction, I would have to stand by France making it all the way to the final. It's actually, we've got an update on the score, which I will talk about in a second. But yeah, so France-England final was a possibility. And after that, I really can't call it. It really could go either way. So I think we'll definitely get to the final. Definitely semi-finals. Very possibly the final. And after that, I want to say England. My head says France. My heart says England. So that's the best answer I can give, I'm afraid. But yeah, as I said, we have had another goal update in the game between France and Argentina. Could it be 4-4? It's currently 4-3 to France. Aguero scoring in the 93rd minute. There have been 4 minutes added on. So, could France and Argentina go to extra time and penalties, or will France hold on? Matty, what do you think?
I think France will hold on. They most likely will. They're much more solid defensively, and I think if there's 1 minute left, I don't think, unless there's some lucky long ball, I don't think they'll have enough time to literally score a goal.
We've had a message in from Martin, it's a new listener, I think. Martin asking, on the basis of this result, is Messi going to retire again from international football?
I think he will. I mean, he'll be frustrated with this, because considering they've scored 3 goals against France, I imagine Argentina actually played quite well in this match.
Yeah.
To be honest, so I think he will. I mean, he retired after losing to whatever the South American version of the Euro is. Yeah, the Copa America finals. And I think after the 2014 World Cup, and I think with the Argentine squad, not exactly moving in a positive direction with a good number of their best players approaching 30. I think he will probably call it time after this World Cup.
Building on, do you think that he has the right mentality? Do you think that gives off a good message that if you don't win or you essentially get humiliated? Not so much in this game, but certainly in the first, these sort of early stages of the World Cup, they really were not performing at all, and they were really, sort of as far below par as you can get. That's the right thing to do. That if you don't do that well, that you retire. Do you think that is the right message, or do you think that as the captain, as arguably the world's greatest player of all time, certainly Argentina's best player at the moment, that he has a duty to his country to stick at it until he actually feels physically that it's the right time, as opposed to just giving up because he wants to sulk?
I think if he retires after this World Cup, if he hadn't already retired before, I think it would have just looked like fair enough, he's calling time in his career. But after the whole incident where he retired and then came out of retirement for professional football, it does make him look like a bit of a quitter when things don't go his way.
Well, speaking of, it is now full time. Argentina are out of the World Cup. Lionel Messi's dreams of lifting that World Cup trophy, the one trophy that has eluded him in his illustrious and trophy-loading career, is over. Do you think he'll ever get the chance to win it? He's, 31, 32 now? Do you think this is his last World Cup, Matty G?
I think so. I mean, even if he comes back at the next one, they're not, like, Otamendi is going to be gone. He's too old. Mascherano's going to be gone. Aguero. I think by that point, Dybala will be the star of the show.
Okay, so, interesting scenes there. So, France so far fulfilling my prediction of making it, at least winning it, certainly booking their place in the quarter-finals. Who they will play, we will find out later this evening. It's been a wonderful World Cup. I have, not only that, thoroughly enjoyed having Matty with me this afternoon. An enormous Solihull Radio thank you for being alongside me or opposite me. And let's be honest, if you lived in the better country of the United Kingdom, I'm sure you being on here would be a more regular thing, wouldn't it, really? But nonetheless, it's been a joy having you alongside me once again. Looking forward to the return of FC Politics in 2019. And hopefully by the time my next show comes around, we'll be talking about how well England did against Colombia, and maybe even how we got into the quarter-final match. Fingers crossed, eh? But whatever happens, I'll be back, same place, same time, next week, discussing that and much, much more. But until then, it is, of course, 5 o'clock somewhere. Thanks for listening. See you next week.
The sun is hot and that old clock is moving slow, and so am I. Workday passes like molasses in wintertime, but it's July. I'm getting paid by the hour and older by the minute. My boss just pushed me over the limit. I'd like to call him something, I think I'll just call it a day. Pour me something tall and strong, make it a hurricane before I go insane. It's only 12:30, but I don't care. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. This lunch break.
Just a quick reminder, actually, we are on from an earlier time next week of 10 o'clock. So that's 10 o'clock next week, the Josh Samuel Show on Solihull Radio. I will see you then. Thanks again for listening. Like I said, 5 o'clock somewhere.
That's alright. I ain't had a day off now in over a year. My Jamaican vacation's gonna start right here. If the phone's for me, you can tell them I just sailed away. And pour me something tall and strong, make it a hurricane before I go insane. It's only 12:30, but I don't care. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Jimmy Buffett do?
Funny you should ask, Al. I'd say, pour me something tall and strong, make it a hurricane before I go insane. It's only 12:30, but I don't care. Pour me something tall and strong, make it a hurricane before I go insane. It's only 12:30, but I don't care.
You don't care. I don't care.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. What time zone am I on? What country am I in?
It doesn't matter. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
It's always on 5 in Margaritaville, come to think of it.
I heard that.
You've been there, haven't you?
Yes, sir.
I've seen your boat there.
I've been to Margaritaville a few times.
All right, well, that's good.
Stumble my way back.
Okay, we just want to make sure you can keep it between the navigational beacons.
Between the buoys, I got it.
All right, well, it's 5 o'clock. Let's go somewhere.
I'm ready. Crank it up.
Let's get out of here.
I'm gone.